things that coaches can do right now. First of all, be aware. There are two common mistakes that people who've had COVID-19 make. The ones who were previously quite keen about their fitness, regularly participating, have a tendency to go too hard too soon. Boom and bust. And all this does is drag out the period of recovery that's required, and in the worst instance, make things worse. So we want to make sure that we provide the pace limiting step, that we get people to take a more moderate approach towards their recovery. The second thing is for those people with typically less of an exercise background or history, and they have a tendency to not do enough. Because of what they're experiencing, the debilitating levels of fatigue and the concerns they have genuine fears about doing too much and making things worse. So for those people, we need to take a very modest approach, looking at how we can just gradually, day on day, build up their exercise tolerance through really well-structured, meaningful physical activity that's going to blend us nicely into more progressive exercise at a later date. So we want to avoid the boom and bust in those people with the exercise background, and we want to avoid too much rest in those people who have these types of concerns. In this area, we need to motivate and activate the right level, and in this area, we need to bring those things down and make sure we move across at the right pace. Next things that coaches can do is listen. It's really important that we're not dismissive, that we listen to what people are telling us about their experience of COVID-19, how it's made them feel, and what it is that they're trying to come to terms with. For some people, they're going to brush it off. They're going to think that it was not as severe as people are making out, and they're just keen to get back into it. In that instance, we have to certainly not amplify their fears or give them concerns they don't have, but we just need to ground them. Make them recognize that whether or not they're aware of it, the presence of COVID-19 may well have had some damaging effect on their system, so we're going to go nice and steady as we go through. However, there's going to be a big group of people who have some legitimate concerns and fears associated with now taking on exercise or increasing their physical activity. We have to be mindful of this. We have to embrace this as a notion, and we have to work with it, and we have to give them the confidence to move forward. And that's going to manifest in the decisions we make with regards to the physical activity and the exercise that we prescribe and advise. So we must listen. What we know is going to directly influence what we do. Another thing that coaches can do is assess. And remember, if you're not assessing, you're guessing. So it's best practice across the board. But in the context of COVID-19, your best assumption is to assume that something will have been negatively influenced, damaged at some part of the system. So what we want to do is take stock of that. We're going to assess, monitor to progress. So we're going to make sure that everything that we put in front of that person relates to what we know they're actually capable of, and not based on a host of assumptions of what we think somebody should be able to do. If you're dealing with a returning client or any of your clients that you've been able to keep in touch with that haven't had COVID-19, now is the perfect time to start to make some baseline assessments. If they do encounter COVID-19 further down the road, you've got an objective marker in order for you to influence your recovery and rehabilitation. So testing is your best practice. For those who've had COVID-19, it is vital, it is essential that you assess that individual and base all your decisions upon what you can actually see and measure. And if they haven't, this is a great opportunity to lay down this marker, get some quantifiable information that can inform your programming here and now, but also be used as a really sensitive measure should they encounter COVID-19, and you've got that guide and light of where you want to head to next.